Today I'm going to talk about some vintage Gubbins, a programmable toy car that my own dad had when he was just a little boy.
And I do mean my actual real life dad. He told me about it in passing and it sounded cool, and the next day I got this off eBay for about £8 including postage. Seems like it's not a much sought after collector's item. It's in good working condition though, so I'm about to show it to you.
The box shows off a common 1960s toy trope
of a white kid with the parent of the same gender looking over their shoulder. Since this is a car, that must mean it's for boys. Boys only. There's no girls on any of the boxes of any of the versions. Fine, whatever. We'll just stick to toys preparing us for an adulthood of servitude. And also some creepy as all hell dolls. Spank me, I cry real tears.
Bad touch! Bad touch!
Actually, that would make a perfect opening line for my Tinder profile.
What's cool about the Computacar,
And what piqued my interest in it
is that it's presented with a computing angle.
Now in the late 1960s, although there were computers in the home, they weren't really widespread yet, due to being a little bit too expensive for most people. However, computers have been a big part of sci-fi for decades. So even the idea of a computer back then would have seemed awesome and futuristic to any kid.
Using the line, the amazing car with a memory, using slips of cardboard and a battery-powered motor to allow the car to take its own routes, it kind of programmable. Let's just give it to them. This one was distributed by UK company Mettoy and appears to have been released in 1969 at the latest. Mettoy had been around for ages as a company originally specialising in metal toys, thus their name, and they were given the distribution rights to sell this toy in the UK,
and I think some parts of Europe,
by the original owners Hasbro. Hasbro distributed the Computacar in the USA under the name Amazomatics.
Here goes my Amazomatics! I'm gonna make mine on circles around yours.
There were a lot more Amazomatic models than there were Computacar models. Whether this was due to lack of popularity over here or purely down to the licensing rights, I have no idea. And as a retro gaming YouTuber, all of my research just comes from Wikipedia. I don't have the time to do hours and hours of proper research. I've got a social life to attend to.
Yours is going under the table. It's programmed to come out again.
But from what I can gather, this was a relatively well-selling toy, and it did have dedicated adverts in magazines, like this one in Comic Buster in November 1969. Whoa, look at that! How cool does that look? It does say on the underside of this Mettoy car that it's called an Amazomatic by Hasbro. I just find the fact that Computacar was used in the UK rather than Amazomatic quite interesting. The cardboard pieces, which were also supplied in the US version, are for you to cut up to make your own routes. By the way, this thing, Mr. Amazomatic, was also released. It's a sort of robot thing and used the same cards. Couldn't find a European version though.
Alright, enough chatting. Let's open the box and have a look.
Along with the car, you have some cute little plastic cones. Obviously for you to make courses up for your car, but they also double up as making you look like you have witches' fingers and also for irritating your pets. So versatile. Instruction book. Believe me, I'm going to be needing that. And the cards. Normally it comes with 17, but mine only had 15, missing one unprogrammed card and one pre-programmed card. The toy comes with 4 set routes. Like I say, I've only got 3, I'm missing this one. The car is battery powered and takes 2 AA's. It's quite a cute little thing and it does look nice, and on the underside is where the action happens. This is where the card is pressed in. Once you press the card in, you push it up to this line, and the car wheels will start moving. This means you need to hold on to the back wheels to stop it until you place it on the floor. But let's take a quick look at the cards. This hatched area on the side of the cards, pleasingly called memory zones in the non-US version, is where the magic happens. Depending on whether you leave a side as it is, cut 1 block deep, or all the way into the inner line, the car will make a movement. So for example, cut all the way to this line and the car will reverse. You have to make slopes between each movement, otherwise it just won't work, which you'll understand when you see a card go through the car. Here's a card running through the car. These little levers run along the ridges that you've made and thus move the tyres back and forth or set the motor to forward, stop or reverse.
I still feel like this is programming in the loosest sense, but you've got to admit, it is pretty clever.
Let's see the car running. We'll try it on the Grand Prix course.
I have about 40% of an idea where the car's going to go from that diagram.
So here I am, a grown woman standing in my shared courtyard trying to place a toy car so that it won't constantly drive into the grass. The car is also, as you can hear, very bloody loud. I might as well be revving a moped right now. Right, okay, so here's the Grand Prix course.
Pricks. What? Don't tell me you've never made that joke.
Wait. The hardest part is working out how to angle the car. It will also go from a straight line to turning quite nippily, so saving it from a crash requires you to be walking close behind it like some sort of giant tailgater. Alright, well this particular course has got 3 big loops in it, which isn't really working in my small courtyard, so let's try something a bit less intense.
The main selling point of the computer car is the fact that you can program and plot your own routes. So let's give that a go.
Let's do a simple route of going forward and turning left and right as many times as it can. Here we go. Okay, well that kind of worked. The main problem I'm having here is that the car keeps stopping when it's not supposed to. The batteries aren't fully enclosed inside the car and they keep popping out. The car is strong enough to smash into the cones, which is good because it absolutely will smash into them even if you think you have the route sorted out. Let's try another simple route. This time the car should just go forward and reverse without turning. Well, again, that did kind of work. Doesn't seem too happy with the card and got stuck a couple of times. The problem with cutting the cards is that the cardboard can quite easily peel at the clipped edges, and that will cause the car to stall. While these journeys that the car takes are quite short, I'm going to see if I can keep it going for just a bit longer by mashing 3 of these cards together. I feel like Dr. Frankenstein if he was a highway design engineer. I'm absolutely certain that any self-respecting kid in the 60s with one of these would have made a horrendous card caterpillar like this. Again, the cards I've cut just seem to get caught all the time. It needs help to keep going, what with the cards sticking out and the batteries constantly popping out. Kinda takes away the entire point of having a car with programmable routes. You could probably have hours of fun with this thing working out exactly what route the car will take according to the cards. I probably would have done that myself, but since it's so loud my neighbours were starting to look through their windows, I had to stop.
You'd have to be pretty committed to become an expert at plotting out routes for a computer car. Although to be fair, there probably wasn't that much else to do in the 60s, apart from take drugs and have sex. Programmable toy car or drugs and sex? Obviously I'm going to go for the programmable toy car. Unless, are drugs and sex an option for me right now? No, oh right, yeah, okay, I'll just stick with the car. Fine.
Since this is a toy from my dad's childhood, I took it when I last went to visit him, and we both tried to make the car run a very specific route to draw something on the floor.
No, we want straight. Isn't that the top?
Yeah, sorry, yes, you're right.
It took us a while to work out how to plan it out. When you come to making your own routes, if you have them planned out, it's surprisingly difficult to work out how to cut the card to draw the route that you want. Having the squares on the card does help, but in the end, after trying and failing with the 2 remaining cards that I had, Dad had to make his own. Making your own is a nightmare because the lines that are cut to, of course, need to be in the same place as on the supplied cards. Now, the instruction book does encourage you to make your own, but like I said before, the car is really quite finicky in terms of there being absolutely no problems with the card before you put it in. If you can't be bothered to make your own, and you're, a kid in the 60s, then you can send off for more.
Imagine that though as an 11-year-old. All your cards have run out, so you've got to fill in the form, put it in an envelope, go to the letterbox, post the letter. Oh god, I'm so bored just saying it. It's like when cereal boxes stopped having toys inside them and you had to start sending off the stuff. No kids ever do that. They've got the attention span of a goldfish. I'm an adult and I wouldn't even bother doing that. And I've got the attention span of a goldfish.
Oh, you bastard!
Come on!
Left. Straight. What?
I don't know.
What?
Even after numerous attempts, we could not get this car to draw what we wanted.
That's not at all what we wanted. It's just the middle bit that's the problem, really, isn't it? Because the balls are still next to each other.
Dad reckoned it was because the rubber wheel pulling the card through the toy was disintegrating. So maybe back in the late 60s, when it was all shiny and new, it would have actually been quite easy to use this thing to draw a giant peen on your floor. One can only hope.
I mean, that's a really weirdly shaped one. That's a weird one.
Although Mettoy wasn't a toy company that made many computer toys, with the growth of interest in computers and the arrival of home gaming, Mettoy would end up creating a branch of its company purely to make computers. That branch's name was Dragon Data, and they would create Dragon computers. So perhaps the computer angle pushed with the computer car was some great foresight on their part. Except Mettoy the company ended up chopping off its Dragon Data arm after financial troubles. And then famously, Dragon Data went bankrupt in 1984, so, you know. Anyway, there we go. A programmable toy car from the 60s. That is some great gubbins.
Thank you for watching this episode of Great Gubbins. I will see you next time. Hopefully.
Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please help me out by giving me a cheeky subscribe. And you can come and say hi to me on Twitter or Facebook.